The Apartment Gurus podcast is brought to you by Greenlight Equity Group, an apartment acquisitions and holdings firm co-founded by Carl York and Tate Siemer, host of this show. We offer you the opportunity to be an owner of cash-flowing, wealth-growing apartments without the headaches of being a landlord. These assets are recession-resistant, risk-mitigated, offer significant tax advantages, and are a great alternative to the stock market. Ready to check it out? Go to www.investwithgreenlight.com today to book a personal consultation with Carl or Tate. Again, that's investwithgreenlight.com. We look forward to meeting you. Welcome to The Apartment Gurus, where twice a week, host Tate Siemer brings you deep dive interviews with the wisest gurus in the apartment investing industry. These experts are sure to create game-changing value and inspiration designed to catapult your business to the next level. Be sure to reach out to Tate at www.investwithgreenlight.com for access to his investor portal and Calendly link. And now, here is Tate Siemer and the Apartment Gurus.
Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the Apartment Gurus podcast. And you know, the joy of getting to do this show now for 3 years is kind of coming full circle today in this podcast, because our guest is at the very center of, number one, me being in multifamily and Greenlight even existing to begin with, but also the podcast existing really is thanks to Corey and Shelley Peterson, who were the coaching mastermind leaders, mentors, coaches that I had when we started in the multifamily space about 4 or 5 years ago now. It seems like it's been that I was in the mastermind with you guys. And I've told this story so many times, Shelley, that you guys really gave us exactly what we needed in the way of like the assets and the knowledge and the confidence to go out and start going after these larger unit count assets. We were in the 12, 20 unit space when we joined you guys. And then, you know, within a year or so, we were in the 150, 170 unit, 190 unit space. And I really just have such a big place in my heart for the two of you. So those of you that have been around know the big Kahuna, Corey Peterson, just a huge personality in the multifamily space, speaker, author, podcast host. He's been at it for a long time. Shelley, his right-hand woman and partner in all of this is just immensely talented and has been, I know, a huge part of the Kahuna Investments success, especially in the way of raising capital and bringing your LP equity together. So, Shelley, this is really fun. I'm so glad you started doing podcasts, and I'm so glad that you are on the show with me today. This is great.
Oh my gosh, Tate, I am just so tickled pink. I literally I'm like crying inside because number one, you know how much I adore you. So, and number two, I can't even say like how freaking proud I am of you, man. Like to watch your business and your podcast blow up. You are reaching millions of people every day and you're sharing your story and you're giving good nuggets and good value to your audience. And I'm just so thrilled just to be a part of it. And thank you from the bottom of my heart to have me on your show. I appreciate you so much.
I love it. I just, it's perfect. And like I said, it's so fun to kind of it's almost a little bit of a full circle thing. We have some great memories together out on your boat in the middle of the night with Corey going 50 miles an hour and a bat hitting me in the face. And we can tell some of those stories maybe another time, but just have some great memories with you guys. And more importantly, what you have done and did for us at a very critical point in our progression as a business and as a brand and as a business model, like it really can't be overstated. So tons of love for both of you and just super glad to get to spend this time with you. Shelley, aside from being one of the best chefs that I've ever had the privilege of being around and getting to sample your crafts, and Shelley is amazing in the kitchen, amazing. Tell us a little bit more about you. We were talking before the show, before we started recording. Like I know a fair amount about your story, but I know there's a lot that I don't know as well. So, you cut your teeth professionally in pharmaceutical sales, and I know that's been a huge part of your path, but I'd love to hear really the thumbnail sketch from your perspective.
Sure. I love it. Yeah. Everybody who knows me, they know that secretly I want to be on the show Chopped, and I want to get a baskets of ingredients. I'm like, Alex, give me a basket of ingredients. Let me whip up something really cool. So I'm like a chef within, but I have many titles, Tate. I am ambassador of fun. I'm a mother of two. I'm an Okie by heart. So those that are from Oklahoma, but I live in Arizona. I grew up in an Asian household. My mother always told me, you go to college and you work hard so you don't depend on anybody to make your money. That's my Mama Lucy's voice, by the way. I tell people that I love them long time and get away with it. So yes, I have a lot going on. Corey and I, we met at the good old fashioned way karaoke bar 23 years ago. We've been married for almost 21 years. Come August, we have two great, awesome kids. One's a senior this year. We almost out of the house, and we have one that's out of the house that's in college. Faith just went to college last year, so she got her first year done. But Corey and I are literally almost empty nesters. And I will tell you what, for the longest time, I was that woman that did it all, man. Like you hear those women like, I work, I have a career, I'm a full-time mom, I do it all. And I will tell you, Tate, I was getting tired. I was getting tired of bringing home the six-figure income from my pharmaceutical industry, missing being with my kids, when they had life changes, missing their sporting events because I was traveling. I was chasing that corporate ladder. And, when Corey came home one day from his, when he got fired from Edward Jones and he wanted to do real estate full time, I said, well, giddy up, daddy. This is your chance. I will hold down the fort. I will support you. You make this work. And he sure did. And I tell you what, I always say it's an investment that I made in Corey a long time ago that's still paying me out dividends. It's awesome. So, when I retired from the pharmaceutical industry in 2016, I kind of had an identity crisis. I'm like, well, who am I? What am I going to do now? That's when we sold our first multifamily asset for millions, and it was life-changing. That's why we always preach one deal can change your life forever. And it surely did ours. And so when I retired, I didn't know what to do because Corey said, well, come do real estate with me. And I said, heck no, man, I have a medical background. I didn't know what an NOI to an LOI to a PSA. I didn't know any of those terms, and nor did I want to. So I started out just kind of being his little sidekick, his cheerleader, his supporter. And I would go to these events with him. And, when we launched the Kahuna Boardroom years ago, I said, well, I can run events. I'm supplier fun. That sounds fun. I'll be the hostess with the mostest. And then over time, I was drinking the Shelley Peterson Kool-Aid, man. Right. I was drinking it all in, all that multifamily syndication had to give. I was soaking it up. And I said, oh, I know how to underwrite deals. Oh, I know how to raise capital. Oh, I understand this business. And guess what? It's a lot of fun. So the one thing about working with your spouse, I always tell folks, know your role and shut your hole. You want to make sure that your lanes are very separate. Yeah. For those that know me and Corey, we are both mavericks. If you've never done what's called the predictive index survey, do it because it will show you how to communicate with one another. If you have a team in place, it's great for team communications, but it's really great for marriages. Okay. So, we're both mavericks. So we really had to define each other's roles and say, okay, this is the role that I think that I can excel in. This is the role that we can get the best use out of my genius zone. And guess where that role ended up being, Tate? That was in investor relations. And so that's where I am today in the company. I love meeting people. I love getting to know people. I love knowing what really gets them going, what motivates them, how we can work with them and what we can do for them. So.
Yeah. Love it. Talk a little bit about, that first deal, because that's a huge part of your story and Corey's story, and it really launched you guys. And and allowed you to do a lot of things that you did after that. So
yeah, the one in Greenville, South Carolina. Yeah, that one was a 144 unit. And I think Corey, we bought that for 3.2 and he raised $1.2 million. And then we held it for 5 years. We fixed it up, operated the property. And then 5 years later, we sold it for 8.6 million. Beautiful. And Corey had 75% of the GP. So a lot of those millions was in Corey Peterson's pocket. Well, actually Mama's pocket. And I remember the day that when we exit our first deal, this is years ago, but I remember sitting in the backyard and we had a cup of coffee and we just wanted to take that moment and celebrate just that win. Because, in multifamily, this game, there's going to be a lot of wins. And guess what? There's going to be some ups and downs too, where you just want to pull out your hair. But that was a very surreal moment for the two of us because, before that, Tate, it wasn't long ago, I would say probably 7 or 8 years prior to us exiting out of that deal, we could barely afford the electricity in our house. We actually moved out of our big house in Arizona because we were so much in debt. We were so in the hole financially that I said, Corey, we need to get out of this mess. And so when he started out doing real estate full time as a wholesaler fix and flipper, that was the first thing that we did was just take any extra income and just snowballed our debt, just got rid of it. We actually moved out of our house, lived with my sister for about 8 months. And that was a very humbling experience when our tenants, they said, hey, we found a house. Can we break our lease? We're like, heck yeah. Because at that point, the trucks were paid for, vehicles were paid for, all the credit card was paid for. And so we moved back into the house that we're still in today. We've been in the same home for 16 years. It's so funny. But
I love that about you guys. I really do. I've been to your house numerous times. And I love that. It's a wonderful house and it serves you guys so well, but it's not it's not this mansion on the hill kind of scenario, right? And
it's not the Taj Mahal. Yeah, we could, but
you could have gone that way, but you didn't. And you stayed humble in a sense, as far as that goes. And put your money back into your business and
that's exactly it. And so here's my philosophy on that. I look at my house now as a liability. I really firmly believe in Robert Kiyosaki. Like, my house isn't making me any money. I'd rather put my money into something that's making me money. Right. I'd rather invest my money into one of our deals that's going to produce income. My personal house doesn't produce income. So I think as a multifamily syndicator, we have a mind shift on how we create wealth, right? And so, and I love that we are getting this message out there because there's so many families that were in the same situation that we were in and that are looking for a way out. And I love that you have this, your audience this is why they come to you because they're looking for a way out. They're looking for that freedom to provide for their family and to the freedom to do what they want to do when they want to do it and with whoever they want to do it. Right.
Right.
So,
right. That's it. That's that freedom. Right. And I talk about time freedom, money freedom, and geographic freedom. Like, right now I'm sitting in a coffee shop in northern Michigan, near our lake cabin on Lake Michigan, where my mom lives 5 months a year. And every summer I come back for 2 weeks to visit her and it's just mom and Tate time for 2 weeks on the lake and the dogs and everything else. And
I hope my son wants to do that with me when I get older. Just mom and car time.
Knowing both of you, I bet he will. And it's special. Like, I just turned 50 which is crazy. And so, I know it's true, Shelley. It's unbelievable.
I didn't even know that was just your 50th. Wait.
Yeah.
Minute we're supposed to celebrate, man. What the heck?
Yeah, just last month.
Well, you're invited to Corey's 50th. We're like the last. Yeah, we're like the Gen X group, man. We're old school here.
Yeah,
well, happy 50th birthday.
Thank you. So mom's in her mid 70s, and these times are super special and really sacred. I know that I'll always look back on the ability to visit with her every summer for a few weeks is like just precious. And I couldn't do that if I didn't have the setup, the career and business setup that I have right now. which serves geographic freedom for me. And so that's a huge part of my why and, my design, lifestyle by design, so to speak.
Right.
So, all right. So let's dig in a little bit here to kind of some good stuff. Talk about, I'd love to hear a little bit about pharmaceutical sales.
Sure.
Why and how you excelled there. Cause I know you were just a rock star in that space. And what, kind of how that translated to what you are doing now and what, the change you made in 2016 and how all that went.
You bet. It's so funny because my background, I'm actually a registered dietitian by trade. So that should tell you a lot. I'm the worst one you'll ever meet because I love eating, all the stuff that's bad for you. So I knew that wasn't the career path that I wanted. And so I ended up going into hotel sales. And it was there where I discovered Merck Pharmaceuticals, or they discovered me. And I'm like, well, this is a good fit because I have a science background and I love sales. So why not? So I will tell you, as a Merck representative, they probably have one of the best training programs in the pharmaceutical industry. It is an 8-week intensive, and they teach you how to create your messaging when you're talking to doctors. They teach you, they actually have to certify you. You have to role play with managers, and you have to learn certain messages and verbiage and wordsmithing, and how do you deliver your message to the doctors, which message is going to resonate with that particular doctor. And then you have to segment the doctors. Well, what kind of doctors is it? Is it a progressive doctor? Is it a traditionalist? You have all these different ways to how to talk to these doctors to deliver an impactful message. So I did Merck for a few years, and then I ended up with a small women's health company called Novin shortly after being laid off. If you're in the pharmaceutical industry, if you're listening, you have to be a professional interviewer, because I can't even tell you how many times I got what the correct word or the polite word, displaced, or Salesforce optimization is what they call it. Yeah. And so I probably had to interview for a position in that pharmaceutical industry over probably the 10 years I was in that industry. I'm not even kidding you, probably about 15 to 16 times. Wow. Throughout my career. Wow. And so it's a very volatile career path. And it's changed quite a bit. But when I was in women's health, I actually was promoted to a district manager, and I had 9 representatives that were underneath me, and I covered the West Coast, and I would sell women's health products all over the West Coast. And in 2016, they shut their doors. They said, guess what? We don't have a sales force anymore. We are shutting down our sales and marketing department. Now, at that time, Corey was already killing it in real estate. He was, we just exited out of our big multifamily deal. We made millions. But I still wanted to work because that was my identity. I am a working woman, and I loved what I did, Tate. I had such a passion for women's health. And so that was a very sad day for me. I remember being on that phone call when they shut the doors, and I got off the phone, and it was a very sombering feeling. And I see Corey on the staircase doing his little happy dance. And he's like, yeah, mama don't have to work. He's freaking happy. He's like, you don't need that job. I don't want you to work. Come travel with me. Be my son. Like, come with me. Let's do real estate together. And I just remember that feeling of, what am I going to do? Because I love my husband, but I don't see myself working with Corey because I want to stay married to him. Right. And I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are out there. They struggle with this. You have one spouse that's working, and the other one's trying to grow their business, and the spouse isn't supporting the one that's growing the business. They don't understand what they're doing. I can't even tell you how many times Mama Lucy goes, what's your husband doing? I don't know what he do all day. And I'm like, Mommy's doing real estate. I don't know what that means. You're making all the money. And I would hear this negativity from my family. And but I had such a big belief in Corey. I'm like, that guy is going somewhere. He is going to make something. He has the drive, the ambition, and he loved doing real estate. He loved the multifamily game. And so, I probably took a good few months off. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I was kind of lost in la la land. I was like, well, I'll just party it up and have girl time and go do girl trips and be the best soccer mom ever. And so I did that. I poured myself into the soccer booster and I did all of these things. And I was, Corey had, to go talk on stage. I was there with them, making friends. Mm-hmm. But it's funny when you get into this business, I think, if you have a spouse that's struggling to understand what you do, you have to get them involved in some form or fashion. They have to understand what you are learning, what you're trying to accomplish. And so I think that was number one for me, was really understanding not only the fundamentals of multifamily, but just kind of getting an overview, broad spectrum of how this game of syndication works. And it started becoming interesting to me. And I'm like, oh, well, this isn't so bad. And I think a lot of times people are a little bit turned off because the jargon, the words, it's so, if you don't know what you don't know, and then it just turns you off. It's not interesting. Right. But over time, it became interesting to me. And so that's how I slowly got into working with Corey. I did little things in the office, little things for the team. I was more of a support role. But where I found out where my genius zone lies, Tate, is really in onboarding the passive investors. How do you talk to the passive investor? And how did that translate from the pharmaceutical industry to the real estate industry? Because guess what, folks? There is a way of talking to the passive investors. I'm not talking about investors that always want a big piece of the deal of your deal. I'm not talking about smart investors like the real estate guys. I'm talking about busy working professionals. I'm talking about business owners that have no time or no bandwidth to understand the game of real estate. I'm talking about retired folks, people that are essentially in the stock market. They are wanting to get off the stock market. They want an alternative. They don't know. They don't want a REIT. They're like, oh, I want real estate. And they're like, oh, are you a REIT? I'm like, no, that's still the stock market. This is investing your hard-earned dollars into a hard asset. You can go visit the property. You can feel it. You can see it. It's, you can't move it quickly. And that's what I love about this game of real estate investing. Now, a couple of nugget words that your audience needs to know that when you're dealing with a passive investor is you got to determine if they are a passive investor, number one. A lot of times when you're talking to people, you got to determine what type of investor are they? Are they truly passive? And what I have found with the passive investor, or are they active? So what does active mean? Active means they're actively looking for a deal. They're actively looking to do the work and take down this deal on their own or with the team. A passive investor, they're lazy, man. They like mama. They like me. I want to be a lazy investor, get my money working. But what they're looking for is consistent, predictable income stream. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that's and if you get comfortable in talking about how the rich get richer, how do we make your money work harder for you? How do you create consistent, predictable income stream and have cash flow, buying cash flowing assets. Those are some words that really pique passive investors' interest and like, tell me more. Right. So typically how it works in our office is we have what's called a lead magnet. Everybody, if you don't have a lead magnet, I highly recommend getting one. Right. Yep. So that could be a book or a manual. It would most likely talk about, multifamily syndication. And then it prompts them to get into your calendar so you can talk to them a little bit more. And depending on what type of syndication you're doing, now, if you're doing a 506C offering, it's 506C as in Charlie, you can advertise your deal all day long. And I think that message is a little bit different for those passive investors versus a 506B offering, because you're really dealing with more like family, friends, referrals, right? And so that conversation does look differently. But what I tell folks is when you're working with a passive investor, you really have to probe. And this is where the salesmanship comes in. You have to dive in and figure out, like, what are they looking for? What do they want? What moves their needle? Do they want the cash flow because they're trying to replace their income stream? Or are they trying, are they a business owner and they need a tax break because, they're getting hit hard with taxes because they're a business owner? What is it? Try to identify that pretty early on. And then the next step is really, you want to walk them through your track record. who you are, what is your company, what have they done, how is your company different from other companies, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I always highlight when I'm talking to an investor, I'm like, we are very transparent here at Kahuna Investments. One of the, we send out monthly communications every month. It comes through as a financial dashboard, and you can see the table of contents in this financial dashboard. It's 150-page reporting all the way down to the bank statements. They're like, whoa, you show me the money. Of course we show you the money because you're deal partnering with us, right? Mm-hmm. So those are some things, like if you know how to differentiate yourself from other companies, that's a big plus. That will help you tremendously. Now, a lot of times folks don't have a track record, and that's okay. You can borrow someone else's track record. Find someone that you want to JV with or deal partner with and borrow their track record, right? It's pretty simple.
Let me just this is huge right here, guys, what Shelley just started hitting on. And this is I probably as much as anything I want to thank you guys for, Shelley, is this piece right here, which is you not only as part of the coaching mastermind that I was in with you guys, you not only helped us build a credibility kit or a company profile kit, whatever you want to call it. We call it a credibility kit. But you actually did the graphic design work, your team did. And you included you and Corey as advisory partners on our team, which gave us the ability to use your portfolio and your track record in our credibility kit. And guys, for listeners, those of you that don't have track record or have limited track record that are concerned about that, this is the magic bullet right here. This is the number one solution. Get a partner. We called Corey and Shelley advisory partners, whatever you want, however you want to contextualize it. Put them and their track record in your credibility kit, which you all should have, by the way. And if you want an example of one, you can email me, tate@glequitygroup.com. Happy to send it to you. But you all should have a credibility kit, and all should have a stout track record in it, whether it's yours or one of your partners.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Oh, that's good, Shelley. Tate. No. Yes. And I know that you're offering that up to your folks too. Yes. It's huge for anybody that's getting into this game. And I will say that's one of the reasons why Corey built his platform. He's like, man, when I started out in multifamily, I had to piecemeal everything. And he's like, there's nothing that has A to Z on one plate. Right. I said, you're right. So I'm glad that it's been helpful, and I'm glad that you're doing it for your folks. And so you're just passing it forward, Tate. That's what I love about you.
Forward. Yeah.
Paying it forward. And
I'm copying my way to success.
Copy your way to success, baby. Yep. That's right.
Yep. That's the name of one of Corey's books for listeners. Corey wrote a book called Copy Your Way to Success. So you should all check that out, by the way.
He painstakingly wrote that 2 years on an airplane. So, he gets bored. He's like, I just write on an airplane. So it's probably one of his better books. I do like that one. Yeah. But you know what I love about you, Tate? You have an abundance mentality. And I love working with people that share that same philosophy. Oftentimes we get into this space and everybody gets all, that scarcity mentality. Well, you got to deal. I don't want to share anything. I don't want to share best practices or procedures because you're going to rip that. And I'm like, no. We need to be better as an industry. So that way we can attract more people to do more deals and to change more lives. Ooh, I should coin that. That sounded pretty good, didn't it, Tate?
It sounded, and we got it on video here too. Got it in the
hey man, you never know what's coming out of my mouth.
That's true. That's true. And that can go to really a lot of different types of situations.
Yes, it can.
Cocktail hour and otherwise.
Oh boy, that's the best. Yes, that's right. Yeah. I always sound like they're like, oh, Shelley, you're so crazy. I'm like, I'm just a legend in my own head, you guys. I'm a rock star in my own head. A party within. I love it.
I love it. And honestly, in all seriousness, like that level of self. What's the word? It's not confidence. It is kind of being self-confidence is part of it. You do have a wonderful sense of self-confidence, but it's like just a joy in being alive and a joy in getting to be who you are. and the enjoyment of being a mom and being Corey's partner in this, and early on cheerleader, and now operation. I don't know how do you even think of yourself now in the professional sense with Corey? Are you just partners?
Yeah. It's funny because I told Corey, I said, well, what am I? Am I president, vice president? And he's like, honey, you can be whatever you want. The driving force.
Yeah.
I find myself being more supportive to the team. I really enjoy just making sure I'm just Mama Kahuna, Tate. And I love that role. I love taking care of people. I love taking care of our team. Our team is like family to us. We have a wonderful work culture here. We just hired a new gal yesterday. So I onboarded her. We really bring people in the fold. And, we even foster a culture where, we work hard, but we play hard. We do company shutdown, right? So, like most corporations, I always told Corey, I said, kind of sucks at Thanksgiving when I was in corporate America. I had to take, we get Thanksgiving off, and then I had to take off for Black Friday. I'm like, man, it takes 3 days to thaw out a turkey. I said, I think we should just shut down the whole week of Thanksgiving. Boom. We made that into our policies and procedures. So we don't work the week of Thanksgiving. Neither does our staff. The week of, Christmas to New Year. Like, I can't remember how many years that I'd have to scrape for my PTO, pay time off, just to have time with my kids over Christmas break. And so we decided as a company, we shut down at Christmas break. Leave us alone. We're not doing any deals. We're not doing any business. We are going to spend quality time with our family. And so, yes, you're hearing, when you said it, that the air of confidence, Tate, you nailed it. It was that magic word. It's simply joy, having joy in your life, loving your life. I said, if I were to die tomorrow, guess what? I'm coming back as Shelley freaking Peterson because my life is good.
I love that. Look, I mean, that makes you, I think the key takeaway here for listeners is that it makes you like delicious to be around for
one yet.
For lack of a better word. It's being around you, getting to hang out with you and be part of your enthusiasm, your joy, your zest is so attractive, and it just makes you like when I'm around you, I feel good, and I'm uplifted, and I feel good about me and about my life and about our friendship and everything else. And I think that kind of contagious, the French word is it joie de vivre, I think, or something like that.
Je ne sais quoi, like I don't know. Je ne sais pas. I don't know. That's what that means. A certain something.
Well, there's the joie de vivre, which I think is joy of life. If I'm not mistaken.
Yes. You're right. You're right.
I don't know French at all. I speak a little Spanish, but so I think for listeners, like bringing your passion to this is so key. It's like an intangible asset that you have that. It is just a massive key in people wanting to work with you and do business with you. And so, the more locked in you are with yourself and the more kind of self-aligned you are and just comfortable in your own skin. I'm throwing all the analogies out there right now.
Man, you're putting so much color right now. I'm just blushing from head to toe. There's only one other person that puts color on like that, and that's Corey. So, hey, man, when you said you had me at delicious, Tate.
Delicious. It's true.
That's a first one for me.
But we all know what that feels like. So that when we're around somebody that just makes us feel good, it's like, wow, I want to be around that person more, right? Like it tastes good. It's delicious, right?
Yes. Yes.
And not only that, but I'll go ahead and expand this. I was going to bring this up, kind of in bringing it full circle, but yours and Corey's chemistry, your natural, you have two big things that I see. Number one, you have a very natural chemistry and a natural rapport with each other. And on top of that, probably more importantly, you have a very intentional commitment to each other and dedication, devotion to each other and to to what you're up to the work that you're doing. And that is like just amazing. Like the whole power couple concept is what comes to mind for me with you two. Like just super, super powerful. And always, I know you guys have disagreements. I've seen you call Corey out. I know it happens, but the overall feeling with you guys is just that you're a force of nature together, and you're both such big personalities, and to make it work the way you guys do is just amazing. I love it.
Well, I tell people, I said, well, it was real simple. I just found someone that was just exactly like me, but in a dude's body. I got Corey Peterson because we are very much alike. We do have our subtle differences, but I married my best friend, Tate. I married someone that gets me, that brings out the best in me. And I hope, I bring out the best in him. I push him to be his better version, and he's pushed me to be my better version. And we just do life together, and we grow together, and we love rock crawling, jeeping, karaoke, traveling. I'm his little traveling buddy. Like we just got back from Moab. You saw the trip.
Yep.
It was a rim rocker trail. We started out in Moab, then we made our way into rim rocker and ended up in Colorado. And boy, let me tell you, now there were moments where I wanted to kill Corey Peterson because he drove my daughter's Jeep up the escalator obstacle. Okay. And the Jeep was on fire, and you better know there were some obscenities that were thrown at. I'm like, what are you doing? We got 3 more days of rock crawling. So we do have our fun disagreements, but at the end of the day, it's so funny. They're like, well, you guys fight, but you sure do make up pretty quickly. And so for all those married folks out there, you just don't ever go to bed mad, make up quickly. That's the key. But well, thank you for that comment. I appreciate that.
And
we do have a lot of fun.
It's really remarkable, and fun's a huge part of it. I'm glad you just used that word, because fun's a massive component of you guys and who you are, and even your events, your the Kahuna boardroom and the masterminds and everything that you guys do there's so much fun involved, from luau's to the cocktail hours and backyard parties. So much fun. Hey,
and you're invited to Corey's birthday on November 18th. Big luau party.
I love it.
Just FYI. Side note.
Love it. Perfect.
We're gonna have some unexpected attendees in November showing up. I heard it's Corey's birthday. I'm here to celebrate.
Love it. That'll be a good time to be in Arizona too, actually.
Oh yes. Yes, it will be.
For those
nice
of us
and cool.
in colder parts of the country.
Yeah.
So back to just to dig in a little bit into the past investor onboarding. So when you, first of all, like you guys have your lead magnet, people find you through Corey's appearances, and the podcast I know has been a big source. On whole, or in average, like where do people come from as far as your investor base? And just kind of walk me through the process of how they go from being, interested in who you are and what you're doing to actually investing in a deal.
Sure, you bet. So we have a process in place to make sure everything gets checked off. So if you don't have a CRM that can track these leads, I would highly recommend that, number one. Number two, you need to decide who is going to take these calls. Either it's someone on your team, or if you're a small operator, is it yourself? You need to determine how you want to do that. Now, I have found over the years, the further I can separate Corey from the investor and leave that last, the more success. I don't know why that is. It's just the way it's been. So I'm kind of like the hitter. I'm the one that's kind of vetting them in the very beginning, because my ultimate goal when they come in is to really get to know them and try to figure out, are they a student or are they truly a passive investor? If they're a passive investor, what kind of returns are they looking for? What type of investments have they done? I'm really digging in. I'm very nosy, Tate. That's the one thing about me. By the end of the call, Corey will tell you, I will know everything about your family, your children, what kind of line of work you do. and then I sprinkle that in with, our story. And so I ask a lot of questions, but I'm also very purposeful and intentional, and letting them know at the end of this call, you're going to sign what's called an investor questionnaire, because guess what? We are regulated by the SEC, so you want to cover your butt. So that's number one. You want to make sure that you're very intentional in your call, and you're leading the call. Don't ever let the investor take you down a rabbit hole and get you hung up on your words. You really want to have, your points that you want to get across. That's important. For us, the main points that I'm going to get across, number one is you're going to sign this investor form. Number two, I'm going to give you our background story. It's very important that you understand the Kahuna story, our core values, and our mission. Number three, I'm going to talk about their buy box, right? These are the assets that we are looking for. And then you stop and check, or is this something that you would be interested in investing in? Is this the type of asset that you like? Right. And so while you're doing your presentation, you want to sprinkle in a little bit of probing questions, checking in with the investor. From there, you walk them through, how do you do your due diligence phase? How do you underwrite deals? We talk about, it's very hard finding deals right now. You know this, it's with taxes and insurance, deals aren't penciling. So I always say, when we do find a deal, and if it's one that you're interested in, act quickly, because oftentimes they get taken pretty quickly. So now, did you guys see what I just did? That's creating the urgency. Not everybody can be in your deal, right? I make people feel like, and I truly wholeheartedly believe this, like if you're in one of our deals, I presented it as such an amazing opportunity. You'd be crazy not to be into this deal, because not everybody can be in this deal, right? So that's the fourth. You go over your due diligence, and you go over about how difficult it is to find deals, because it's all a very true statement. And then the fifth thing you want to do is say, okay, so once you fill out your investor questionnaire, here's what to expect when we onboard you as an investor. If you see a deal that you like, here's what's going to happen next. It's very important that you give that investor very clear expectations. All right. So I walk them through, here's what our investor portal looks like. Here's how you log in. Here's how you can invest in the next deal. And you walk them through that whole process. And, a lot of times people are like, well, gosh, Shelley, that sounds like you spend a lot of time on these calls. My calls are generally 20 to 30 minutes tops.
Yeah. We're totally reasonable, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and you're checking in with the investor and say, does this all sound good? Do you have any questions? And they're like, no, this sounds great. Okay, here's what's going to happen next. You have to lead them to what's going to happen next. Typically in our organization, I want to set them up with a call with Corey, because I want them to meet Corey. I'm like, well, let's get you on Corey's calendar. And if they haven't had a book, I'm like, do you have Corey's book? Let me send you his book for free. And I get their mailing address. And now that you have their mailing address, you can start your mailing campaign. Now for us, our mailers is a 5-week postcard. So we don't want you to forget about us after we had our conversation with me, for number one. And then number two, after you have your conversation with Corey, the communication is going to be ongoing for the next 5 weeks, right? And so that's how we're going to nurture. And then monthly, they're going to get an email of our cash flow newsletter. So kind of gives them a heads up of what's going on in the organization. Hey, someone just joined Kahuna. Oh, if we have a new deal, we'll present it in the newsletter. They'll get an email, right? So we want to keep our investors engaged. And then once they actually go into a deal, that's a whole different process. I don't know if we have time to go through that, but once someone says, I have 100,000, you have a deal in place, how do you properly onboard them? And so there's different ways. If you're a small operator, back in the day, we had to do it old school before they had portals and CRMs that they could manage investors. So we were working out of our Manila folders and writing everything down, Excel spreadsheets, right? But however you do it, I think the biggest takeaway is communication is key. Transparency is key. And so whether you're doing a 506C or 506B, I will also preface that when you're dealing with someone's money and they're bringing you money, you need to make sure that process is seamless and is as hassle-free as possible. Meaning you want to determine, how do they want to take ownership in the deal? Are they going to invest in their LLC or in a trust or, a self-directed IRA? Is it cash? And then if you have a team member, you can pass that on to do the paperwork. I would highly recommend it's someone that has a very strong detail oriented. I don't like detail. So typically that goes to a team member that's very, very good at crossing T's and dotting I's, right? So we use Syndication Pro, which is our investor portal, and it really does a lot of the work. So once someone gives you their money, a lot of that stuff is automated, but don't let automation fool you. Okay. Because automation is another way of being lazy and getting away from customer service.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah.
So it's very important that I like to communicate 3 ways. I communicate via text, via phone, and via email.
Yeah.
So if I'm communicating with an investor, they're gonna see me come in 3 ways.
Yeah.
And it's very important that you do those 3.
Those 3 are the most immediate, generally speaking, the most immediate channels of communication that all of us have. So and you want to be the squeaky wheel, right? Like you want to be in their face with their full attention.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. We had my pest control guy that came into the office, and we were in our slippery rock deal, and we've known GR for 10 years, man. Like this guy, he's been my pest guy for my home, my personal home, and for our office. And I was like, "Hey, GR, how's business going, man?" He's like, "Oh, it's going great, but dude, taxes are killing me." And I said, "Oh, that sucks." I'm like, "Why haven't you I go, do you have some extra money you need working? You need a tax benefit?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I go, "Why haven't you done a deal with this? Why haven't you got in one of our deals?" He's like, "Well, I didn't know this is what you did." I said, "Yeah, man, our missions are up there. It says we partner with past investors to create award-winning apartment communities families are proud to call home." Proceeded, and I showed him our credibility kit, gave him a hard copy. He's like, "I want to talk to my CPA, Shelley, and I'm going to get back to you if I have any questions." Sure enough, within the hour, he's asking me a gazillion questions. Do I wait the next day to respond? Do I do it in email? No, I'm picking up the phone. I'm texting him and I'm responding within an hour, you guys. That's very important. People want quick response. And what that shows the investor is that, hey, these guys are quick to respond. They're not going to ignore me. Their customer service is on point. And I think, gosh, we're living in a world right now that we lack customer service. It drives me crazy. It absolutely does. But I got back to this guy very, very quickly. And he looked over the pitch deck. I was able to pitch him this deal because we've known him for years. He's been a good friend of ours. And he's like, "I want in on this deal." And I was like, "Perfect." Got his money. He came in at $125,000. The next thing I know, he goes, "Hey, my brother and sister want to come in on this deal too." I said, "Great, we take referrals." And so I got his brother and sister involved. And just like that, like $400,000 into a deal like that. And so I don't know, hopefully that inspires some of your students out there that it doesn't have to be hard raising capital. It can be very easy. You just got to open your mouth, share the story, give the opportunity to people that are looking for it, because guess what? They will self-select. People are looking for an opportunity. They know that the dollar is eroding. They know that they can't keep up with inflation, that, inflation is killing the American dollar. And so they're looking for people like us to place their hard-earned dollars and helping them making it grow. So, I love talking about this, Tate. We can go all day, my friend.
You're doing all, and clearly you love it. I mean, it shows, and that's so key. And I love it too. And I think that's why I've been able to do the show for 3 years and 210 plus episodes now. But it's fun to talk about, right?
And here's the deal. You are impacting people's lives when you impact their finances, when you help their money grow and they can beat the stock market and they can have a nice nest egg and have cash flow and have mailbox money to take vacations that they have, that just comes to them. I mean, that's powerful. Yeah. So I don't know who said this one time. They go, "You want to help people make more money, because if you make more money, you can do more and be more and give more."
Yeah.
Ooh, that's another one. More. We should coin that one. Yeah. And employ more. Right.
Yeah. Right. And bless more people for sure.
That's right. That's right. Amen to that, brother.
So, Shelley, speaking of, I'd be remiss to not ask you about, kind of how you see things right now in the market, and especially in terms of raising capital. Has it gotten harder for you over the last year, or, because that's kind of what you hear people saying, is it's gotten a lot harder to raise capital recently. Have you found that to be true?
I don't think it's gotten harder. I think people are a little bit more skittish. I think they're concerned, and I would certainly not, if this is their last $100,000 and this is all they have, do not take their money. Right. You're going to deal with people that are and they will find you if you are fishing in the right pond, you will find passive investors. Personally, Tate, I have people that come through and they're like, I have money and I need to place it somewhere. And I'm like, I just met you and I can't place your money. I'm like, dang it, we got to do a 506C. So for us, that hasn't been a challenge. Now I've heard that's been a challenge for some. I will always say that, money is personal. And if they don't know you and they don't know who you are, it's going to be harder to attract money. So I really do believe that money is a relationship, is still based on relationships. That's why I think we've been hesitant in doing 506Cs because, you advertise your deal to the masses, but you don't know these people. So, there's pros and cons to both. But at the end of the day, even if you meet these people the first time, you still got to find a way to get to know them quickly, build rapport, and foster a relationship that's going to last for your mutual success.
Yeah. So you guys have you only done Bs? Have you ever done Cs?
We've only done Bs. We've only done B as in boy. Now we are going to be launching a Kahuna fund, which we're going to put $50 million in Q1 2024. Wow. We actually just went vertical in the company. So right now we're operating to the fullest and Kahuna management. Corey's been on the road the past 4 days. Him and our COO Gannon have been hitting, out of the 10 properties that we currently have, they've hit 5. So I'm like, they're like the Griswolds, Clark Griswold, like going cross country.
One
drive was like 17 hours. Like he's doing the work, man. So I would say if you have assets right now, the goal is just to make sure you're running lean operations, making sure that everything is tightened up, and then prepare. Like we want to prepare when things do go south. We want to be positioned to where we can pick up a lot of these properties that are not going to be performing. There's going to be a lot of operators out there that are going to fail, unfortunately, because they've gotten themselves in a situation where they either overpaid for the asset or they didn't, underwrite the property correctly. And they're like, oh, crap, I didn't figure the taxes were going to be this much, or insurance. Right. So I think what we're going to find, Tate, is a lot of operators with their pants caught down, unfortunately. Yeah. So we're already starting to see a little bit of that. So the question is, if you're an operator and you're looking to find deals, I think, get yourself positioned to go find a deal and raise money to take these deals down. So
is your fund going to be a C, 506C?
It most likely. Yeah. Yes. I think, yes. Yes. Cool. So, we're pretty excited about it. Well, so you'll have to ask me that question after we do this fund, and we'll see how it differentiates from a 506B offering. So, right now,
it's remarkable. We basically have done fees, and we've done, 12 deals now, with awesome. A couple going full cycle and a couple under contract. And we've really gravitated to the C because of the ability to talk about deals on podcasts or advertise, and also for us, the Bs require just being a lot more careful. We found, as far as SEC guidelines and making sure that you're not that you're doing everything right, and by the SEC's rules and whatnot. And that's, it's an interesting thing for me to look at you guys having raised the tens, hundreds of millions that you raised, and looking at doing that all from a B through a B model. It's amazing.
School. Well, amazing. And to go back to your point, I think, for you doing a 506C, it really boils down to, because you have a podcast, your audience knows you. And so that's the biggest key right there, is that it makes sense if you do a 506C, if you have an audience base where people can get to know who you are. I think that's very important, because whether you believe it or not, you're building a relationship over the microphone. You have a lot of people that are listening to you. I mean, you have one of the top freaking multifamily podcasts out there, man. It's awesome. And so people believe in you, they trust you. And so when you throw out a deal, Tate, they're like, oh yeah, I know Tate, because they've been listening to you for months, for years. And so I think in your shoes, that absolutely makes sense to do a 506C. Why Corey hasn't done one, I don't know. I might have to smack him around. I'm like, it's time, Corey, let's do it.
Take the leap, take the plunge.
Take the plunge. Well, we are. It's going to be exciting. So I'll be happy to report what we do with that fund coming up shortly.
Yeah. Cool. So tell the listeners how they can reach you, learn more about Kahuna, learn more about your mastermind, or I'm assuming that's still cooking, all that stuff.
Yeah,
tell us all about that stuff.
Yeah, the best way to learn more about us is just text the word book to 480-500-1127. That's 480-500-1127. Text the word book. And you can just go down the rabbit hole that way.
Will they get a book?
Yeah, I'll send them a free book, Copy Your Way to Success.
Awesome.
They'll get to know Corey Peterson very well in that book. I think he shares one too many stories that are very personal. I'm like, why did you write about that, man? So it's pretty, I mean, you want to know about Corey, you can read that book. But yeah, that will take you down. I always call it the rabbit hole, but you can learn more about Kahuna and Corey and all the things that we have to offer, if that's what you're looking for. Corey, his podcast is so worth the listen. And it's the help me with the name, Shelley, Multifamily Syndication Podcast, I believe. Am I getting that wrong? Yeah, it's a multifamily legacy podcast. Multifamily legacy podcast.
There it is.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll put it. Multifamily Legacy Podcast. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. We'll also put a link to or notes about texting book to that number that Shelley mentioned. What is the number one more time, Shelley?
Yep, it's 480-500-1127.
There it is. Perfect. So there you go, listeners. Shelley Peterson.
All Mama Kahuna.
Excitement. Mama Kahuna. Living it up. Love it. Love it. Love it. This has been so fun, Shelley. Thank you so much.
Man, Tate, I miss you, man. It's just been such a joy and pleasure to be on your show. I'm just so tickled pink and just so thrilled that and quite frankly, I'm honored to be a guest on your show. So thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. Love you long time, buddy. Love you long time.
Love you too. We love you too. Love Corey. Love your team. Love all you guys, and are so grateful for all you've done for us and the way that you got us started. That's nobody can ever do that for us again, and we'll never forget it. So listeners, hopefully this was just hugely valuable to you. I hope so. And, if it was, we love the ratings and reviews that you leave us on whatever platform you're listening to. And, we're just trying to bring as much value as we can here to you twice a week. So keep coming back and keep tuning in, and we'll keep delivering some value to you, hopefully, and making you and your business and your lives better. So with that, Shelley, thanks again. Listeners, thank you. Love you guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.
This has been the Apartment Gurus with Tate Siemer. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. To contact Tate, go to www.investwithgreenlight.com for access to his investor portal and Calendly link. He loves to hear from you and thanks you for being a valued listener. Just a reminder that you are the guru. See you on the next episode of the Apartment Gurus.